Energy is probably the biggest single infrastructure problem that Nigeria faces today. A population of over 180 million people, generating only about 5 gigawatts of electricity. We are generating only about a quarter of what is needed, basically to run the country and keep it going. And this is where Seplat actually comes in, because we have taken a strategic decision to produce gas, natural gas, into the domestic market.
It's a major contribution to the very large energy gap there. It means we can both contribute to the industrialization and growth of the Nigerian economy. So a company like Seplat, which began with very much an export focus for oil, now finds there is a huge domestic market for gas, which aligns completely with that SDG of affordable energy access for all.
We're at an important node at Oben. We can supply gas to Lagos and to the west, and we can supply gas going up to the north. So we are in a strategic location, and that is why we want to make Oben a big gas hub.
Seplat is the indigenous Nigerian company that has contributed in transforming the long-awaited indigenous program in the upstream. We're very happy going forward to contribute our quota towards creating prosperity in the land. Our gas development is key. We'll continue to make sure it's a major instrument for employment generation, prosperity, and community engagement. So we're very happy where we are today and looking forward to a brighter future.
In Seplat Petroleum's development company's efforts to support quality education in Nigeria, Seplat, with her joint venture partner, Nigeria Petroleum Development Company, MPDC, again this year held the 2019 Seplat Pearls Quiz program in the city of Benin in Edo State. Pearls Quiz program is targeted at senior secondary school students to enable them perform well in their examinations.
Where your face comes up. Where your face comes up.
Distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, You're most welcome to Seplat 7th Annual General Meeting. This is the very first time we're having our AGM, a combination of physical as well as virtual attendance. And I'm very happy to note that all of those who are here physically present have maintained social distancing. Before we proceed, immediately after the national anthem, we'll start first with the HSC briefing before we proceed with the business of the day. Thank you very much, and I wish us a very successful annual general meeting. Thank you. National anthem, please. Opening prayer by Sir Sonny Wosu.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today's gathering. We pray that you will bless this gathering. You will give us the knowledge and everything that it takes to continue to uplift this company, Seplat. We want to thank you, Father, for the caliber of the MD who is actually living. We thank you for the services he has rendered, because without your grace, he probably will not have been able to achieve what he has done for us. Wherever he is going, Father, and whatever he intends to do, please extend your blessings to him. I also pray for the chairman who is piloting the affairs of this company. Father, please do not leave him. Continue to endow him with knowledge and wisdom to continue to move this company forward. I also remember all those, both as directors and management and staff of this company. May you continue to protect them and protect everybody that is involved with this company. By the next time we shall be here, we'll have a better environment to hold our meetings by interacting. Father, whatever is the pandemic going on all over the world, please protect us from it. Let us be happy with our families. Father, I pray that the 7th Annual General Meeting, we shall celebrate 20, we shall celebrate 30. And by the special grace of God, all of us will be happy that we have invested in this company. Father, please grant all of us the grace to continue to move. In Jesus' special name I pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Sir Sonny Wosu. May I now call on the representative of the HSC department in Seplat to kindly come forward and present the HSC briefing.
Good morning, Chairman of the Board, distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Godwin Atigan of Health, Safety and Environment Department of Seplat. I will take a few minutes to put you through the HSC briefing for this meeting. We have complied with all mandatory COVID-19 illness control measures for holding an event of this nature. Everyone who has entered this building, the Temple Tower today, has been screened for a body temperature check to ensure no one with a temperature reading over 38 degrees Celsius gets admitted into the building. Stands of hand sanitizers have been placed at strategic locations in the building and in the meeting venue. Please wear your face mask throughout the meeting. Social gathering and distancing directives have been complied with. Please, let's observe it through the meeting. To avoid indirect contact with the virus, access doors to meeting rooms, the main entrance, to washrooms have been left open to avoid the need for people to open or close the doors. Please take note of these additional health and safety precautionary measures. Each floor of the temple towers is equipped with smoke detectors that will activate the alarm system should there be fire. We are in the meeting hall of the 6th floor, and there are 2 emergency exits doors in this hall, one through which we came, and the other through the smaller wing as a point to the right. Outside this hall, there are 2 fire emergency exit staircases. They are clearly marked. One just after the restroom entrance. This is the one we shall use if we need to evacuate the floor. The second one is within the lift lobby. It is reserved for fire service men and those that will attend to rescue operations. There is no planned drill for today. So in case of fire, the alarm will be triggered. Please do not panic. This is first warning signal. If evacuation of the building is announced, leave your belongings on your table and leave the hall through the exit nearest to you. Remember, we will use the emergency exit staircase just after the restroom for evacuation of the floor. Do not use any of the lift, as they will automatically return to the ground floor and remain there for as long as the emergency lasts. Once you are outside, our access control personnel will direct you to the muster point located in the car park opposite this building. Stay calm if you were already in the lift when the alarm goes off. The lift will take you to the ground floor. If required, please press the yellow button on the lift panel for help as well. Head count and information on re-entry of the building will be given at the muster point. For our conveniences, for male and female are marked and situated along the passage on the opposite of this hall. A medical doctor and ambulance are already on standby to provide any medical emergency assistance should anyone arise. At this point, I want to thank you all for your attention, and I wish you a successful annual general meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atigan. I will now invite the Company Secretary, Mrs. Edith Onwuchekwa, to address the quorum for this AGM. Edith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, distinguished shareholders. Good morning, everyone. The registrar has informed me, and I also confirm that we have the quorum for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edith. On that note, I hereby formally declare the 7th Annual General Meeting of Seplat open. And thank you very much. And as we proceed, I would like to inform us that this AGM is streamed live for the benefits of those shareholders who are not physically here present to follow the AGM, as well as some other observers and our regulators who would like to follow the AGM to do so real time. Having said that, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce my colleagues who are here with me at the high table. To my immediate right is Mr. Austin Avuru, the CEO of the company. I might add that Mr. Avuru's term as the CEO is the only thing that is ending. Mr. Avuru is not leaving Seplat. He will continue to work with us at the board, and we'll be very happy to enjoy his expertise and experience while at the board. Thank you very much, Austin. Let me also quickly introduce to my immediate left, Mrs. Edith Onwuchekwa, who is the Company Secretary and the Chief Governance Compliance Officer of Seplat. And to my far left is the representative of the Audit Committee membership, Sir Sonny Nwosu. And next to Sir Sonny Nwosu is the representative of our auditors, Mr. Bernard Karina. Thank you. To my far right is the representative of our registrar, Mrs. Nisan Kofi Senea. Next to her is the representative of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Gostine Iwenekara. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the mandate we received, our directors who are not physically present have mandated that we represent them at this AGM. On that note, I would like to introduce them in absentia. The first is Mr. Roger Brown. Roger Brown is the CFO of the company. Mr. Roger Brown will be assuming the mandate as the CEO of the company come August 1st. Next to Mr. Roger Brown is Mr. Efi Okon, who is the Operations Director of the company. We also have Mr. Olivier de la Gavon, who is Non-Executive Director of Seplat. We also have Mr. Michael Alexander, the Senior Independent Non-Executive Director. We have Mr. Basil Omiyi, an Independent Non-Executive Director, who is also the Chairman of our Risk Committee of the Board, as well as the Chairman of the Gas Committee. We have Dr. Charles Okahelam, an Independent Non-Executive Director. Charles is also the Chairman of the Finance Committee of the Board. We have Mrs. Ifweko Omoigwe Okaru, who is an Independent Non-Executive Director and the Chairman of the Corporate Governance Committee of the Board. We have Mr. Damian Dodo, SAN, who is an Independent Non-Executive Director and the Chairman of the Nominations and Establishment Committee of the Board. We have Lord Mark Mallock Brown, who is an Independent Non-Executive Director and the Chairman of the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee of the Board. We have Madame Nathalie de la Palme, who is a Non-Executive Director of the company. Thank you very much. That ends our introduction. And before, I'll then call on the company secretary to now read the notices of the annual general meeting. Mrs. Onwuchekwa, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You can find the notice of 7th Annual General Meeting of Seplat Petroleum Development Company, PLC, on page 317 of 2019 Annual Report and Accounts. Notice is hereby given that the 7th Annual General Meeting of Seplat Petroleum Development Company, PLC, the company, will hold at 16A Temple Road, Oluholowe, Ikoyi, Lagos, Nigeria, at 11 a.m. on Thursday, 28 May 2020, to transact the following business: ordinary business, to consider and, if thought fit, to transact the following ordinary business, which will be proposed as ordinary resolutions. 1, to receive the annual accounts, director's report, auditor's report for the year ended 31st December 2019, and the audit committee report. 2, to declare a final dividend recommended by the board of directors of the company in respect of the financial year ended 31st December 2019. 3, to appoint PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, as auditors of the company from the conclusion of this meeting until the conclusion of the next general meeting of the company, at which the company's annual accounts are laid. 4, to authorize the board of directors of the company to determine the auditor's remuneration. 5, to elect/re-elect the following non-executive directors. A, to approve the appointment of the following non-executive directors. 1, Madame Nathalie de la Palme as a non-executive director of the company, and 2, Mr. Olivier Claret de Langovon as a non-executive director of the company. B, to re-elect the following directors who are eligible for retirement by rotation. 1, Mr. Basil Omiyi, independent non-executive director. Please see note 7. And 2, Dr. Charles Okea Hallam, independent non-executive director. 6, to elect members of the audit committee. Copies of the annual report and accounts for Seplat Petroleum Development Company, PLC, for the financial year ended 31st December 2019 will be mailed to the shareholders and will be available on the company's website, www.seplatpetroleum.com. Printed versions can also be obtained by contacting Datamass registrars in Nigeria at 2C Bagada Expressway by Beko Ransom Kuti Park, Bagada, Lagos. Telephone 234-706-4000-751 or 234-706-4000-752 or Computershare in the UK on 44370-703-6101 by order of the board, Edith Onwuchekwa Mrs., dated 23rd March 2020. Please note that notes to this annual report is as stated in the annual report, but due to the COVID-19 situation and this AGM that has been scheduled by proxy, I intend to read the proxy important notice. In view of the current COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the new Nigeria Corporate Affairs Commission's guidelines on holding of annual general meetings, AGM, of public companies, taking advantage of Section 230 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA, using proxies, all members are hereby advised that attendance for the meeting shall be by proxy only. A member of the company entitled to attend and vote at this meeting is entitled to appoint a proxy to attend and vote in his, her, its place. A proxy need not be a member of the company. Consequently, members are required to appoint a proxy of their choice from the list of the following proposed proxies to represent them at this meeting. A, Dr. ABC Ojako. B, Mr. O.A. Avuru. C, Mrs. E. Onwuchekwa. D, Sir Sonny Wonsu. E, Dr. Farik Umar. F, Mr. Boniface Okezie. And G, Mr. Matthew Akinlade. For the appointment to be valid for the purposes of this meeting, the company has made arrangements at its cost for the stamping of the duly completed proxy form, which must be deposited at the office of the registrar, Datamass Registrars Limited, 2C Bagada Expressway by Beko Ramsom Kuti Park, Bagada, Lagos, or at the head office of the company marked for the attention of the company secretary, or by email to proxy@seplatpetroleum.com, not less than 48 hours before the time fixed for the meeting. For convenience purposes, a blank proxy form is attached to this 2019 annual report and accounts, both of which are available at the company's website, www.seplatpetroleum.com, and at the company's head office, 16A Temple Road, Oluhalowe, Ikoyi, Lagos. The notice of this meeting, please note, was published in 2 national dailies, Daily Sun newspaper dated 30th April 2020 and Vanguard newspaper dated 1st May 2020 in accordance with Section 222 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edith. We will now proceed to the business of the day. But before we do that, I think it is pertinent for me to make one or two remarks. Since we are going through very unprecedented times, the global economy at various forms have witnessed various meltdowns. Our industry particularly has experienced very unprecedented times. We've seen oil price collapse at the backdrop of imbalance of demand and supply, especially an overwhelming supply in the presence of demand shock. This has then meant that oil prices have fallen way below what has ever been expected. Indeed, the oil price in American reference crude had gone negative. This has never been seen before. Some analysts have said that this kind of oil price collapse has never been seen for more than 10 decades in the past. But I think what is important, and I'd like to inform distinguished shareholders, that Seplat has continued to work to make sure that we deliver on the promises we've given to our stakeholders. And therefore, we have prioritized four main areas. Number one is the fact that our staff and stakeholders remain the anchor of our success to date. Therefore, our first priority is to make sure that we ensure the safety and security of our staff as well as other stakeholders. I'm happy to say that the management of Seplat did put in place some safety and security measures that predated even what happened at the national level. And I'm happy that that is being observed even up till today. Therefore, those priorities will remain in force going forward. And also because we are very mindful of the importance of our stakeholders, Seplat contributed as much as possible towards the national funding of palliatives across the nation. Apart from the $1.2 million which we contributed through the NMPC as a company, we went further to spend various sums of money to the stakeholders, starting from the state governments where we operate, as well as the communities and impact communities where we operate. And we focused on providing palliatives that range mainly from heightened hygiene supplies, as well as making sure that food security in these areas are guaranteed. And this is our continuous giving back and making sure that we identify with our stakeholders. Another area of priority for us is to make sure that the liquidity and the balance sheet of the company remains very solid. As we've always said, this company will remain very resilient and strong. As a result of this, the board has made sure that we work closely with management to make sure that the liquidity of the company and the cash position remains strong, and this will be more evident as we look at the accounts. We've also made sure that we maintain a robust balance sheet, and going forward, we'll make sure that we maintain ourselves as what we say we are, which is a low-cost operating company, maintaining our OPEX, the barrel equivalent of oil, at about $6 a barrel, and working hard to make this even lower. We'll also make sure that during this period of pandemic, we will take very strict look at our CAPEX. We're going to be cutting down CAPEX, obviously, but we'll make sure that we keep the company going very strongly. The third priority we have, of course, is to prioritize our gas business and monetization. Obviously, because of the fact that gas is extremely important in the Nigerian domestic market, in addition to the fact that globally the ESG narrative is taking center stage, our company has therefore taken a bold step that, apart from the fact that gas remains a main growth part for our company, we're going to continue to produce gas and supply to the national economy, and also use that as a means of strengthening our revenue earning. But more importantly, it's nice to stress the fact that gas being a very clean energy will help us maintain the fact that protection of environment is critical. And therefore, going forward, we'll see quite a lot of investment in our gas business. Our fourth priority is, of course, the fact that we'll continue to produce oil. We know that there's been a lot of narratives towards cutting down production or shutting in. I'm happy to say that our management has continued to work hard to make sure that we don't shut in any wells during this period. These are the four main areas of priority for the company, and what it means is that this company will not only overcome and succeed in these very hard times, but we are most likely going to come up even stronger. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We will now proceed with the first business of the day, which is the presentation and approval of our annual report and accounts of the company, as well as director's report. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you have seen our annual report. I'm sure you have read it. May I then request that we take it as read and then proceed with the business? Thank you very much. On that note, let me then invite, in line with section 345, subsection 2 of CAMA, I will now call upon the auditor's representative to kindly come forward and present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board of Directors, distinguished shareholders, may I ask for your permission to read the abridged version of the opinion page? Thank you. Before I read, I want to express the appreciation of the partners and staff of Ernst & Young, EY, for the opportunity given us to serve Seplat for the past 10 years. And we are very, very grateful. So we'll be stepping aside at the end of this AGM as your external auditors. I read. Independent auditors report to the members of Seplat Petroleum Development Company, PLC. Opinion. We have audited the consolidated financial statements of Seplat Petroleum Development Company, PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, which comprise 1. Consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the year ended 31st December 2019. 2. Consolidated and separate statements of financial position as at 31st December 2019. 3. Consolidated and separate statements of changes in equity for the year ended 31st December 2019. 4. Consolidated and separate statements of cash flow for the year ended 31st December 2019, and related notes to the consolidated and separate financial statements. In our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the group as at 31st December 2019, and of the group's financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended. The consolidated and separate financial statement of the group have been properly prepared in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards as issued by the International Accounting Standard Board, IASB. And 3, the consolidated and separate financial statement of the group have been prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and in compliance with the Financial Reporting Council of Nigerian Act, number 6, 2011. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards of auditing. Our responsibility under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the group in accordance with the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, IESBA Code, and other independence requirements applicable to the performing audit of Seplat Petroleum Development Company PLC and its subsidiaries. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IESBA code and in accordance with other ethical requirements applicable to performing the audit of Seplat Petroleum Development Company PLC and its subsidiaries. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statement of the current year. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statement as a whole, and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on this matter. For the matter stated below, our description of how the audit addressed it is provided in that context. We have two key audit matters. One is the impact of oil reserve and resources on a number of material elements on the financial statement, particularly on depreciation, depletion, amortization charges, decommission provision, impairments, and the going concern, and how we address it as stated on page 3143 of the opinion. The second one, which is key, is business combination of Elan Oil and Gas Limited. On 31st December 2019, Seplat completed 100% acquisition of the EU share capital and control of Elan Oil and Gas PLC, now Elan Oil and Gas Limited, for an overall purchase consideration of $487.683 million US. The acquisition of Elan was significant to our audit due to the financial magnitude of the transaction and due to significant judgments and assumptions involved in the recognition and measurement of the acquired assets and assumed liability for Elan. Because of the acquisition of Elan, a goodwill of $29.54 million US was recognized by Seplat. We have determined this to be a key audit matter based on the significant management judgments and estimates made on valuation of the net assets of Elan and the purchase price allocation. Disclosure about the acquisition of Elan are included in note 9 to the financial statement. I'll move on to the last paragraph. Requirement on other legal and regulatory requirements. In accordance with the requirement of Schedule 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C-20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, we confirm that 1, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2, in our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the group so far as appears from our examination of those books. 3, the statement of financial position and profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of account. And 4, in our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statement have been prepared in accordance with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C-20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, so as to give a true and fair view of the state of affairs and financial performance. It's signed by me, Bernard Karena, for Ernst & Young, Lagos, Nigeria, dated 23rd of March, 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karena. Before we take questions, may I now call on Sir Sonny Wosu to kindly read the report of the auditors. The Audit Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I've been mandated to read this on behalf of my chairman, who is unavoidably, due to COVID-19, not available at this meeting. So everything I'm going to say here is the opinion of my chairman, but the voice is that of Sas Onenwosu. In compliance with Section 3596 of the Company and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, we, the members of the Audit Committee, have reviewed the financial statement of the company for the year ended. It's too bulky. For the year ended 31st December 2019, and report thereon and confirmed as follows. The accounting and reporting policies of the company followed legal requirements and agreed ethical practices. 2, the scope and planning of the audit requirement were, in our opinion, compliant with legal requirements and best practice. 3, we have reviewed the finding on the management matters in conjunction with the external auditors, and we are satisfied with the response of management in dealing with such matters. The company's system of accounting and internal controls followed legal requirements and best practice, and we have, in response to these matters, made the required recommendations to the auditors of the company. In addition to the foregoing, we, the members of the Audit Committee, conducted the following business during the year. 1, review the implementation of the company corporate governance framework. 2, review the 2019 external audit plan and the 2019 internal audit plan, including an assessment of the external auditor's independence, and review the proposed 2020 budget and working program. The committee received a report from the UK Financial Reporting Council, FRC, on its review of the audit of the financial statement of the company for the year 2017. Following the receipt of the report of the FRC audit queries review, the committee carried out the following actions. Held a joint meeting with the Statutory Audit Committee and the Board Finance Committee of Seplat with the company's external auditors, Ernst & Young, to deliberate extensively on the issues raised by FRC in its audit review report. Engage Ernst & Young on the following issues raised in the FRC review report. Receivables due from the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company. 2, provisions of the commissioning obligation. 3, other assets. Fair value investment in OML 55. Journal testing and the fair tax asset. Received and deliberated on Ernst & Young action plan to address the above issues, and obtain Ernst & Young assurance to close out all the issues raised thereon. Completed an online survey of FRC detailing all the action undertaken by the committee following the receipt of the new review report. This was signed by the chairman of the committee, Chief Anthony Digbe, SAN. Other members of the committee are Dr. Farouk Umar, shareholders member, Sir S.N. Nwosu, KSS, shareholders member. Ms. Chief Macaulay Agada Ofwe, director member, who resigned during the course of this meeting. Ifeko Mogu Okaro, director member. Michael Hochard, director member. Damian Dodo, SAN, director member. Well, other things there are just reporting issue on the change on the committee membership as it affected the board members. I want to thank you on behalf of the chairman for listening to the report of the audit committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Sonny Wosu. Before we put this to vote, I now call on questions from shareholders. And then after that, we address the questions and then we proceed to voting. Are there questions? Please, come to the microphone, say your name, and then make your observation.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Okezia Boniface.
Mr. Boniface, can you use this microphone because you're not supposed to touch that so we can hear you.
I'm not touching this one. I think I'm audible. You know. What I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, are you hearing me?
No, come this way.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Clear. We have to receive the report. The report still received formally, no, before we even align the auditors to read. But since they already read the report and the audit committee read the report, before we go formally to question and answer, let us formally resolve the receiver account. Then we can now commence the business fully. You have to receive. It's not late to receive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boni. I took it that the presentation was also with a receipt, but may I ask that a shareholder please move for the receipt of this report?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Boniface. Who seconds the motion? Thank you. Anybody opposing it? Thank you very much. So I take it that the report has been unanimously accepted and received by the shareholders. Now let's proceed with the questions. The gentleman at the back.
The chairman, managing director, company secretary, regulatory authorities were present, and distinguished shareholders. Good morning. My name is Matthew Akinlade, President of Noble Shareholders Solidarity Association. I want to congratulate the board and management for another successful year. In spite of difficult economic environment in 2019, the company revenue just has a slight drop of 6.2%. And with the effort of the board and management to contain costs, gross profit increased by 1.4%, which is quite commendable. And also, even coming to the overheads, I could see that the general and admin expenses dropped by 11.2% from 24.4 billion to 21.675 billion in a year that inflation rate was growing. Is quite commendable. And the bottom line as well went up. Profit after tax came to 89%, which is a significant increase compared with what we had the previous year. So I congratulate the company. A question I want to ask: when we look at the level of impairment from 4.5 billion the previous year, we came to 14.9 billion. It would be good if we can shed some light as to the reason why this is so. Another observation, if you go to page 146 of the annual report, trade and other receivable went up from 41.9 billion to 149.4 billion. This is a significant increase, and we have to be careful. The company is doing well today. We should be careful of big impairment in the future. And I'm not surprised that has also impacted on the cash flow of the company. If you go to page 148, where we have the cash flow, the net cash flow from operation dropped from 153.5 billion to 103.5 billion. I believe the increase in trade and other receivables played a significant role in this, although it's not the only cause, because when we look at investing activities, investment on assets and all that, it also increased significantly, which means you are investing more. And at the end of the day, we ended the year with a lower cash and cash equivalent balance. 178 we closed 2018 with, and the year under consideration was closed with 100 billion. It's still a very comfortable cash position, and I want to commend the company for maintaining good cash position so that there will be no shocks and surprises. But we need to draw the attention that it is dropping. One other thing I want to commend the company on again is on the equity performance in the year. If you look at page 4 of the chairman's statement, in Nigeria, the equity performance is plus 2.8%. So it's an improvement. And even in London, it was 7.2%. And higher than the increase in the Brent oil price, which is supposed to be the benchmark. And even when we compare with Nigerian oil share index, which dropped by 14.6%, and our own is plus, it's a good one. And I want to say kudos to the management. I think this is one of the best indigenous oil companies that we have in this country. It's well run. And I would say we should not rest on our oars. Let's keep the flag flying. Thank you. Wishing you successful future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kinlade. Please, can we have Mr. Boniface? Okay.
The chairman of Seplat PSC, other directors present, fellow distinguished shareholders, good morning. My name is Okezie Boniface. I am the national chairman of Progressive Shareholders Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, like the first speaker, I had to congratulate the board the management and the entire workforce of Seplat for delivering these good results. Even though the economy has been wobbling since last year on this account, the economy has not been healthy, which affected every sector, including the oil sector, have been suffering. Because last year, it's not even this COVID that oil has started dropping to a certain dollar or to a certain dollar per barrel, and we're into oil producing company. So it must also affect us. Despite that, Mr. Chairman, a dividend of 5 cents was paid interim to the shareholders, and the final, which they are receiving 5 cents again, which the odds is a good one for the shareholders. Mr. Chairman, as an indigenous company, since inception, this company have been doing well. Even the price also has been doing well in the market. Mr. Chairman, despite this problem we're having today, compared with COVID and the damn economic downturn, and we're still operating, but how you're going to survive is the question I'm asking now. In this oil drop price, how are we going to survive and to make more money and to retain our workforce and do what you're doing in the sectors? If the shares of this world have taken our own money away, but I believe as indigenous company, what we are meant today is going to remain with us, a great job and the large economy of the nation. So there's no capital flight again because it's an indigenous company. Whatever we aim will remain here. It will create the synergy to build a vibrant industries in the country. Mr. Chairman, that also takes me to that's board committee's report, starting from page 102 to page 117. This is the first time I have seen such details in any company in Nigeria. That's quoted, unquoted, detailing how the committee have been sick and every person are heading in that subcommittees and giving the report so that we can help people liable who are not up and doing in attending the subcommittees and the board attendance. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Okahalam, I don't know why he's also assenting from some of the committees here, and the SAN, Damian, Dodo, it has not been attending with subcommittees very well. I think he has to sit up. Whether it's the court issues that he's attending as a senior advocate are making him not attend fully in all the committees. If you look at those pages, they are there. Okahalam also assented from other occasions, which is not good enough, because it's going by his name, Okahalam. I don't know why he should allow his own share to be eluding him in those committees. He should be moved by that name, Okahalam. If he's not there, his own share will be eluding him. That's contrary to his name. He needs to sit up. Mr. Chairman, that also found on our page where it attributed that chairman also attended subcommittee nomination and establishment committee report. Mr. Chairman, why? On page 107, you attended that committee. Is it before or after? As a chairman, do you ought to sit at that committee when you have other members of the board and they bring to you all? That was when they have reported have been all together that you sat with them. So I need an explanation on that. You have seen it, the page, that page. Mr. Chairman, on page 78, 76, 77, and 81, that talk about sustainable community relationship building and partnership and creating positive impact on local communities. Mr. Chairman, I think that is very, very commendable. When you engage with the community where you operate and know their problem and know what they are facing through in order to not create problem to obstruct activities of our company. You need to engage them from time to time and know what you can provide for them. But we also must be careful in those localities because our people will know them. Where things traditionally law will be co-opting the subject to go and protest and destroy the activities of the company. Instead of that, they should also be mindful that, yes, if their children have graduated and need a job, they need to be placed. That should be their priority. They're going to traditional dealers. What ought to have gone into community and traditional dealers will fetch beneficiary. We must be mindful of that. And that's why these engagements are very important for the rich stakeholders. If they need borehole, access road, what is your problem? If the children are out to have given a job, we have to accommodate them and give them a job in that place. That's why they are host communities. Because I know the traditional rulers in those areas are not good enough for their subject. And I want to commend the company for taking this initiative. Even they say that picture does not lie. In page 81, Chairman, I want to also, you spend about 70 million in donations. We must also have a picture, because if you're looking at here the constructions of road, access road, and KVH, let them bother with this annual report. It will remain in an archive that whoever's seen it will be agreement that Seplat is doing enough to the host communities. Even to which shareholder can bear a witness that we have seen in annual report. This KV was provided, is in the picture here. It doesn't lie. So those things must be reflected so that in terms of denial argument, this thing will come out any time to buttress the point that yes, this company has been doing well to these communities. Why are you agitating? Why you not giving the cooperation they needed? So those things must fade out. Whatever you've done, let the road will have this volume of annual report. Capture it in the picture there. The access road, the transformer is provided, the borehole is provided, commissioning, let it be captured here for a record purpose. That will help the company. For whoever accounts about it, the citizens, the native who are abroad, will see that Seplat have been carrying the people along. It's very, very important. And also the shareholders to see that the company actually is spending this money and we're seeing it, and why should the people complain? It's very, very important. Mr. Chairman, gas, I want to commend you, is why we should be going today, not on petroleum. Clean energy for the society, good for the environment, like Chairman highlighted, annual gas hub, a blueprint for Nigerian future. That's where to go. That's where we're going. And Seplat, if you can be in forefront, like LNG, that's in Bono today, that is also good for us. Chairman, you stated that in 2021, that's why we were targeting to commission that plant. With what is going on today in the world globally, is it realizable in 2021 in this project, which is going about $700 million. It is not a bit of pinch of salt. It's a bigger money, hundreds of billions of naira. Mr. Chairman, how do we intend to achieve that project come 2021? With this pandemic, that we are, yes, we're going to hit the ground running in commissioning that plant. That's my last question, Mr. Chairman. So those issues have to be addressed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okeze. Thank you very much. Mr. Nona Awo, please.
The Chairman, other members of the board, both present and physical and present non-physical. I must start on the note of the fact that I find Seplat's annual account very, very mind-opening. I don't like using the word educative because the account could be educative and the man who is reading it has a closed mind. However, when I saw on the cover building a platform for growth and realizing that there's another company called Platform, But to complicate matters, Mr. Chairman, I then looked through the account, which again, fortunately, I had enough time to run through the account. I find the situation here on your page 7, where you have the group photograph. I began to see what I call Zamfara arrangement. And I said, what is wrong with these men who are members of this board? They put the women on the flank, as if they stay in the middle like they did last year, the governor of Zamfara State will ask them to come and pay fine for... Okay. But talking seriously to the account, Mr. Chairman, first, I do realize and appreciate the fact that this business is a capital incentive business. And in that regard, how you manage your finances, for me, is far more critical than any other thing as a way of the future. Because anybody who is investing and takes only a short-term attitude in his investment, before long, he certainly will be in trouble. So my position is constantly to look at the future much more, being too much concerned about the present. And talking about the future, and having read, again, your statement and that of the outgoing chief executive, I find that one thing that is constant in the two statements has to do with expansion and funding. And this, I said, is not unrelated with the fact that it's a capital-intensive business. But if you look at page 103, which is a subcommittee position, and you look at page 145, 116, and 182, and then you begin to relate the costs, the finance costs that we currently carry vis-a-vis the interest-bearing borrowing. The question that would naturally come to mind is that what is our funding strategy? And I ask that in line with the new acquisition that we just made. Because if one understands your position in terms of strategy, talking about funding, then one begins to appreciate much more what you're doing, and then what position as an investor one should also be taking. I must also follow up with the first speaker on your receivables. And the reason I'm talking about the receivable, like he mentioned, has to do with the need in this accounting to take time and talk a little more about what you do and how you go around your receivables. And the reason I say this is that I know that the structure that you have in the oil business is much more like a web. So if you have a web and you don't take time to explain in this account what those web structures are, then you probably will not be doing an average Nigerian investor who is not well grounded in oil and oil-related business in understanding that the investment that he has invested in. So I will be hoping that one of the things that you do going forward is to take a little more time beyond what the audit and auditor's position is, that you take time to explain. So for the future, I want to be specific. Are we expecting a situation where we'll be finding a drop in the interest rates that we pay for the foreign currency dominated? At the least that we currently pay, the base of what we currently pay is 6%. Given the position in the global market, do we have an opportunity to negotiate downwards what those rates are? And if so, how soon are we likely to take advantage of those? It's also important that I note something that I found very striking in the year under review. On page 237, I find that for the first time in 4 years, our subsidiaries did post a profit after 3 straight years of being negative. But what I want some clarification on It's a situation where in the year under review, we have the bottom rather, the profit after tax being higher than the revenue. And I'm wondering how that came about. So I will need some explanation. Again, as a layman, I need to understand it that if you want me to read the exact amount, I will share it with you. On page 237, I find that 237, 1 minute. I find that the revenue in 2019 for the subsidiary is 12.4 and the profit after tax is 18.9. I just hope that it's not an error. But again, having looked at and moved backwards, I find that that is a correct, based on the answer, the position that you have given. So I'll be hoping that some explanation will be made. As well, on page 137 and 138, I will be hoping that in terms of range analysis, that you provide some clarification, because if you look at both pages, one says that directors, two directors or two shareholders have 34%. And when you go to the next page, which is 138, it says the highest directors have 72%. So there's a conflict. If both of them are two, and the number that they should be holding should be the same. I will be closing on the note of unclaimed dividend. Yes, I know that the number of shareholders here are small, but this is also the time that the company secretariat and the registrars should see to the possibility of getting to shareholders with unclaimed and not waiting for shareholders who have unclaimed to get to them. And the reason I say that is, whether we want it or not, 2020 is going to be a difficult year going forward economically. So the more of our shareholders who have monies with us that we're able to reach, I'm sure they will also be very appreciative of that gesture, and they will also be thankful to us. It's on that note that I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and hoping that after the meeting, some other small areas that we also need clarifications on will be done. But Mr. Chairman, I want to remind you, I haven't heard your forward statement, that interestingly, our share price as at yesterday is standing lower than what the high has been in the last 52 weeks. But haven't heard you that you're going to do better. I hope that those results that will come, especially the half year that should be coming in the next couple of days, will be one that will also be sharing to the market and then restore confidence in this business. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nona Awo. Any more questions? Okay, thank you. In the absence of any more questions, I would like to address some of the questions that have been raised, starting with Mr. Akinlade. Thank you very much, Mr. Akinlade, for all your commendations and the congratulatory message to both the board and management. You also went further to highlight the various percentages in our performance. Thank you. You also raised a question about the level of impairment. One simple answer about the level of impairment is that we are very compliant with international accounting standards. Therefore, being that it's a prudential guideline, we make impairments to show the true reflection of the status of our business. A lot of those impairments, apart from, of course, the receivable you pointed out, has to do with the value we put in our reserves and our assets, which tend to change with the oil price globally. With respect to our receivables, it's good that you pointed it out. Obviously, these levels of 149 billion is quite significant, but if you're conversant with what has been happening over the years with joint venture operations in Nigeria, you see that this is a major problem with cash calls. But the good news, of course, is that we have improved tremendously on this. If you look into our records about 5 years ago, you see that the value was much, much higher. But the good news, of course, is that there's been post-balance sheet effects where some of these receivables have actually been received by the company. So we are continuously working on this, and we'll make sure that it keeps improving. You also pointed out the issue about our cash flows, and that is true. Our cash flow has continued to improve, but you will also notice that before that year ended, we did a major acquisition, and definitely that, more than anything else, affected our cash flow. Commended our equity performance. Thank you very much. Mr. Okezie, you also joined in congratulating the board and management for good results, and also the dividend payment. And you mentioned the share price, and then you wanted to know how are we going to survive. I think in my opening remark, I stressed that we're prioritizing. We're making sure that we do not spend money when it is not necessary. We're doing cost cutting. We are maintaining our low operating costs, and perhaps working hard to even reduce that below $6 per equivalent of barrel equivalent of oil. And we are making sure that we, in terms of our capex, we're not going to spend any capex that is not essential at this time. We're also going to be prioritizing our gas. As you can see, the gas price in the Nigerian domestic market has remained attractive, and at the back of that, we'll continue to improve on our gas business. Also at the board, we have taken very strict steps to make sure that we maintain our liquidity and make sure that our cash flow remains very strong, our balance sheet remains very robust. And this obviously is the reason why we're able to pay dividend, irrespective of the difficulties of the time. Going forward, we can only improve more on that. You wanted to talk about the reports, board committees. You commended the reports, and then Mr. Okeahelam and Dodo's absence. I think Mr. Okeahelam, who is the chairman of the finance committee, attended his meetings 100%, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll look into this, and also your observation about Mr. Dodo. I'm sure that any absence will be exceptionally necessary for them to obtain those permissions. But we'll look into this. And one thing from governance point of view, we make sure that directors take this very seriously. And we'll take note of that. Then, of course, you asked why does the chairman attend committee meetings? Chairman is not a member of any committees right now, but the chairman do attend the meetings, some of them, not all, in attendance, subject to, of course, what the agenda items are. So I do not attend as a member, but in attendance to give support to the committee or to address some issues that may require some explanations. And also, you wanted to know about the community engagement. Obviously, that's one area we pride ourselves about what we do. You commended all the efforts, and also mentioned that we should not give the traditional rulers undue privileges. So I can assure you that whereas we do recognize and respect traditional rulers, we make sure that it's a collective decision of communities, including the community leaders and the traditional rulers, to make sure that whatever we send to communities do get to destination. You also spoke about the gas being clean. That is true. And you wondered how we're going to deliver on ANO. We are delivering on ANO. ANO, incidentally, is the very first incorporated joint venture between an indigenous oil company and the NNPC. And one of the things that we're very happy has happened is the fact that all the cash calls required for this has been made. Most of the project will be funded through equity, and only a smaller proportion of that will be through debt. And we have that fund available, and we're going to make sure that funding will not be a problem despite the difficulties globally because of the coronavirus pandemic. But having said that, we're doing everything to make sure that we do not postpone the date of our first oil, because first gas, because gas is very critical to our growth, being a clean energy. Nona Awo, thank you very much for your observations, particularly on the cover of our annual report. I can assure you that there is no influence of platform who is a major shareholder in that. It's just mere coincidence of choice of words. And then on page 7, we take very seriously your observation. Let me tell you, our ladies take center stage in everything we do. So we take it as an oversight in photographic arrangements. That is not the real issue. In fact, the CEO just reminded me that we say that they are the anchor, so they are at the side making sure that everything works well, but we do take that correction, and we'll see what we can do to improve on it. The fact that on capital intensity of our business and our report speaking about expansion, frankly, despite the difficulties in the industry, we still are committed to growing the business, and that's really what you see in those statements. The financial cost, yes, it is significant when you look at it, but amongst peers, Seplat is one of the lowest costs in terms of our cost of funding, but we are always working hard to reduce any costs wherever we can cut it. And our CFO is very experienced here, and he's continuously engaged. In terms of our funding strategy is such that the company will remain minimally leveraged, only at the appropriate level. We're not going to see this company being excessively leveraged. You're going to see that. The next point, of course, is that we will make sure that the cost of fund remains very manageable. One of the reasons why we took a corporate bond, again, one of the most successful corporate bonds you've ever seen of an indigenous company, is because of this. It's part of our main financing strategy, and we'll make sure that this continues to lead us to be sure that our funding mix is very solid. Obviously, we make sure that we reinvest our revenues, our funds, as we make it so that we only take loan when it becomes absolutely necessary. You would have noticed that even though we had financial institutions having confidence in us and giving us loan facilities, we never drew these facilities until it became absolutely necessary when we did our acquisition of Eland. By the end of last year, that was when we drew it. And today, our net cash situation remains positive. You spoke about the receivables. Again, I've addressed that. The post-balance sheet effect is that that has come down significantly by about $100 million, which is quite significant. On page 237, you talked about the profit. Frankly, I didn't quite pick what you have said, but we're going to look at that. Profit after tax being higher than revenue. That will only take a miracle, to be honest, but we're going to. Okay, the CEO, I was going to call him, has clarified that it was a write back because I didn't quite say it. Okay? Then he spoke about the conflict with the holding of 2 directors. Again, I'm sure that we will look into that. There shouldn't be a conflict. On claim dividend, you're right. The company secretariat is working closely with Detamax, our registrars, to look at that. Our share price being low, this is actually what has happened as a result of the pandemic, and it's a general problem globally where the capital markets all over the world are actually in depression. We're hoping that as the economies globally recover, the capital markets will recover, and oil price recovery will also mean recovery of the share prices of oil companies. So on that note, I would like to thank you. I'm always very delighted to know that shareholders take time to read our annual report. It means that we have very educated from the point of view of understanding financials. As Nona said, it is mind-opening for us as well to see that you read these reports. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We'll then proceed to put this to vote. I will propose the motion now, and right after I propose that motion, I'll invite Detamax to come and explain the processes of the voting and express to us how the electronic voting works. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of any other question, I hereby propose that the annual report and accounts of Seplat as presented, as well as the director's report, the auditor's report, and the report of the audit committee is hereby presented to be adopted. Will a shareholder kindly come forward to second this motion? Please, Mr. Matthew.
My name is Matthew Akinlade. I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akinlade. Let me also say that we have also been informed that there was a demand for a poll voting in respect of all the resolutions to be considered at this meeting. This demand was made in accordance with Section 224, subsection 1B of the Corporate and Allied Matters Act. I will now invite our registrar to come and explain the processes of the voting and how it will work. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chairman, shareholders. I see that most of you are actually my experienced shareholders. I actually know the process. But please indulge us. We'll just go do the instruction on how to use the. But I'd like everybody to please just sign in, pressing the white button if you have not done so.
Welcome. This video is on how to use the electronic voting pad device. Voting pad usage instructions. Please note that the device is only required during the voting session of this meeting. How to use the voting device. Press the Sign In button to activate the voting device. When the status indicator flashes red, the device is ready for use. Press the Yes button to vote in favor of a resolution, or press the No button to vote against a resolution. Only press the ABS button if you do not wish to vote on a resolution. Please press only one of the buttons to cast your vote. You have only 1 minute to vote for each resolution. However, if you press the Yes or No button more than once, the last button pressed before the end of the voting period will be registered as your vote. Please return the e-voting devices to the ushers after the voting session has been concluded. An alarm will be triggered at the exit points if you still have the voting device with you when you leave the meeting hall. Kindly check your pocket and bag to ensure that the device is returned. Welcome. This
I have one person. I'm waiting for someone to sign in, please. Star Sonny, have you signed? Is it blinking, the two lights? Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah, everybody has signed in. Okay. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
The voting will take place now.
Okay, thank you. Because of the electronic voting, those in favor and those against will vote at the same time. Voting is in progress.
Voting has started.
What are you voting, Chairman?
It's just no.
Adoption of the results.
At the end of the voting, 100% voted in favor of the first resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. And I therefore declare the motion carried. The second item is the second item of the agenda is to declare a dividend recommended by the Board of Directors of the company. The Board of Directors of the company recommended that additional 5 cents per share, equivalent of 19 naira per share, be paid as the final dividend. This is in addition to the 5 cents we had paid earlier on as interim dividend, and that means that the total dividend for the year ending 31st December 2019 will be 10 cents, which will be equivalent to 38 naira using the NAFEX rate. I therefore move a motion. Are there any questions, by the way? Thank you. In the absence of any questions,
Chairman, let me observe that that motion should ordinarily read to declare a dividend. Because if you say final dividend, it means by implication that you are not approving the initial interim.
so is to declare the dividend. Yes, because we
then
had paid.
You can then put the second.
That is why I took time to explain. The final dividend is now 10 cents. That's what I explained.
Understand my position.
Wait, no, go ahead.
What we have a right to approve is the dividend, be it interim, be it final. You had paid an interim. Was that interim brought for an AGM to approve? No. I'm saying what we should ordinarily have here going forward is to declare a dividend. If we are declaring a dividend, the final that we are paying will be part of the final, will be part of the total dividend.
So what you're saying is that the dividend to be declared will be 10 cents.
Yes, the dividend that we are approving is 10 cents.
Thank you very much, Nona. It's observed. Your observation is noted, but I explained very carefully that the dividend we're declaring is the total the dividend of 10 cents. Okay? In the absence of any further question, may I call on a shareholder to kindly second this motion?
Chairman, I second the motion. Okay, John Boniface.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okezie. Data marks, please. Voting.
That's not coming, but can I? It's not coming on the screen.
What is it going? But it is working? Okay. Okay, can members please sign in?
Sign in, please.
And then vote.
Vote in, please. Third person. We have one more person, Mr. Akiade. Keeper 2 is yet to vote.
Please note that if everybody doesn't vote, the result doesn't come out.
No, it's all right. Voting is over. At the end of voting for this resolution, another 100%. We have total number of people voting by person or by proxy, 292 in total. 100% voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mason. I hereby declare the motion carried. The third item on the agenda is the resolution to appoint PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC, as the new auditors of the company. This is being presented in accordance with Section 357 of CAMA. The provision states that the company's auditors shall be appointed at each annual general meeting of the company that is convened to audit the financial statement of the company. The appointed auditors shall hold office from the conclusion of the annual general meeting where they are appointed until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. The retiring auditors in this instance shall be reappointed without passing a resolution if such auditor is not disqualified under Section 357 subsection 2 of CAMA. In the present case, Ernst & Young, being the retiring auditor, served the company meritoriously for 10 years, and in line with corporate governance requirements on the rotation of external auditors every 10 years, is scheduled for retirement at this meeting. Thank you very much, Ernst & Young. Pricewaterhouse and Cooper, having been assessed, has indicated its willingness to serve as the auditors of the company. Therefore, in accordance with Section 347 of CAMA, Pricewaterhouse and Cooper PwC is hereby presented for appointment as the new auditors of the company until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting in 2021. Are there any questions from shareholders before we proceed? Thank you. In the absence of any further questions, I hereby propose that PricewaterhouseCoopers be appointed the auditors of the company from the conclusion of this meeting until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting at which the company's annual accounts are laid. Will a shareholder kindly come forward and second this motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okezie. We now proceed with the voting. Those in favor of the motion and those against to kindly vote simultaneously.
Voting has started, please. Yeah. At the end of voting, another 100% voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. And I hereby declare the motion carried. The fourth item on the agenda is to authorize the Board of Directors to determine the remuneration of the auditors in accordance with Section 361, subsection 1B of CAMA. Are there any questions before we proceed? In the absence of any further questions, I hereby propose that the Board of Directors be and are hereby authorized to determine the remuneration of the auditors for the year ending 31st December 2020. Will a shareholder kindly come forward to second this motion? Mr. Matthew Olodele.
I, Matthew Akinlade, I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akinlade. We now proceed with the voting.
Voting has started, please. Please vote. Someone is not pressing there. Voting is over. At the end of voting, another 100% voted in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, shareholders. I hereby declare that motion carried. The next item, which is item 5, has two parts, A and B. And this item on the agenda is a resolution to approve the appointment of Madame Nathalie Delaperme as the non-executive director of the company in accordance with Section 249, subsection 1 and 2 of CAMA. Following the voluntary retirement of Mr. Macaulay Ofure, who was a non-executive director from the board in June of 2019. A casual vacancy was created, which led to the appointment of Madame de la Palme in July of 2019 to fill that vacancy. Madame de la Palme is an independent director of the board of directors of Morel and Prom, and and she's been doing this since June of 2014. And she acted as an alternate in the board of Morel and Prom's nominee, Mr. Michel O'Shea, until July 18, 2019, when she was then appointed non-executive director of the company. Madame de la Palme has served the French government as an inspector of finance at the Ministry of Economy and Finance, an advisor to the Finance and Budgetary Commission in the French Senate, and also an advisor for Africa and development in the offices of various foreign affairs ministers. She remains deeply involved in governance and leadership in Africa. She is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Mo Ibrahim Foundation. You can access other information about de la Palme in our website. Are there any questions before we proceed? Thank you. In the absence of any further questions, I hereby propose that the appointment of Madame Nathalie de la Palme as non-executive director of the company be approved by shareholders. Will a shareholder kindly come and second this motion? Nona Awo.
Chairman, I do second, because I also want to put on record that I'm not like the men who sit with her on the board who put her on the wing. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't understand the last comment you made. Well, thank you for seconding the motion. Can we then vote, please? A dramatist.
Voting has started, please. Voting is over. At the end of voting, 100% voted in favor of the resolution.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare the motion carried. The next resolution is Resolution 5A2, which is the resolution to approve the appointment Olivia Claret de Langavon as a non-executive director of the company in accordance with Section 249, subsection 1 and 2 of CAMA, following the voluntary retirement of Mr. Michel O'Shea, who was a non-executive director from the board in December of 2019. A casual vacancy was created, which led to the appointment of Mr. Langavon in January 2020 to fill that vacancy. Mr. Langevon, who is presently the Chief Executive of Morel and Prom, holds an engineering degree from the National School of Mines in Paris. He has served in various capacities within Total Group of companies, which includes Senior Vice President Operations in Netherlands, Deputy Managing Director of Total EMP in Angola, Managing Director Total EMP Miami, Managing Director Total EMP in Angola, Senior Vice President Finance, Economics and Information Systems of Total Group in the branches, and Senior Vice President EMP Strategy, Business Development and Research and Development for Total. You can access further information from our website about Olivier Langevin. Are there any questions? In the absence of any question, I hereby propose that the appointment of Mr. Olivier Claret de Langevin as a non-executive director of the company be approved by the shareholders. Will a shareholder kindly come forward and second this motion? Mr. Okezie, please.
Chairman, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okezie. Let's now vote.
Voting has started, please. Voting is over.
Thank you.
The results, please. At the end of voting, total units voted on the resolution was 313 million plus, representing 100% in favor of the resolution.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare the resolution carried. The next item is Resolution 5B1, which is the resolution to re-elect 2 retiring directors of the company who are presenting themselves for reappointment. In accordance with Section 248 and 259, 1 and 2 of CAMA, there are 2 directors who are scheduled for retirement at this meeting. They are Mr. Basil Omiyi and Dr. Charles Ukahalam. These directors are eligible for re-election and have indicated their willingness to continue to serve at the board of directors. To begin, I hereby present Mr. Omiyi, who is an independent non-executive director of the company in accordance with Section 256 of CAMA. We would like to state that Mr. Omiyi attained the age of 70 years in January 17, 2016. He has continued to bring immeasurable value and wealth of experience to the board in his role as the independent non-executive director, and also the chairman of our risk committee and as well as our gas committee. He is, however, eligible for re-election at this meeting and has indicated his willingness to continue as a director of the company. Will the shareholder kindly come forward are there any questions, first of all? Okay, can someone come and move the motion? Oh, sorry. I hereby move that Mr. Omiyi, who is retiring by rotation, be re-elected as a director of the company. Can a shareholder please come to move the motion? Mr. Akinlade, please.
I, Matthew Akinlade, second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akinlade. Voting, please.
Voting has started, please. Voting is over. Can we have the results, please? At the end of voting, total number of shareholders present in person or by proxy, 292 voted in favor of the resolution, 100% representing 100% in favor of the resolution.
Thank you very much, Ms. And I hereby declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. The next item is item 5B21. Also eligible for re-election is Dr. Charles Ukahalam, who is an independent non-executive director of the company, as well as the chairman of our finance committee. He has also indicated his willingness to continue as a director of the company. Are there any questions? In the absence of any question, may I call on the shareholder to please come forward and second the motion, which is that Dr. Charles Ukahalam, who is retiring by rotation, be appointed as a director of the board. Mr. Okezie, please.
Someone has seconded the motion for election for Dr. Ukahalam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okezie. Voting, please.
Voting is started, please. Voting is over. At the end of voting, 94.58% voted in favor of the resolution and 5.42% voted against the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mason. I hereby declare the motion carried. Thank you. The next item is Resolution 6. The sixth item in the agenda is the election of members of the Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 359, subsection 3 to 5 of CAMA, a total number of 4 nominations were received from the shareholders. The registrars have reviewed these nominations and have declared that 3 nominations were valid, while the 4th nomination was submitted after the deadline for nomination letters to the Corporate Secretariat. I will now invite the Company Secretary to kindly read out the names of the nominees and the nominators. Edith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The shareholder nominations for membership on the Audit Committee are hereby presented as follows. Nominee 1, Sir Sonny Nnamdi Nwosu. Nominator, Mr. Moses Ibrude. Number 2, nominee Dr. Farouk Umar. Nominator, Mr. Tijani Oluwanishola Mukadama. Number 3, nominee Chief Anthony Idigbe, SAN. Nominator, Mr. Isaac Obarinde Obatosho. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edith. We shall now proceed with the election of the Audit Committee members. Being that the requirement is for appointment of 3 shareholder representatives, and we have only 3 valid nominations, we therefore wish to present the above nominees as the shareholders' representative of the Audit Committee. I think many of them are not here, but Sir Sonny Nwosu, you can stand up to represent those nominees. The 3 of them, who are yourself and 2 others, Dr. Farouk Umar and Chief Anthony Idigbe, SAN. Thank you very much. Don't worry. I know. At this time, I would like to present the directors who have been nominated by the Board of Directors to serve as members of the Audit Committee for the financial year ending 31st December 2020. The directors nominated by the Board of Directors are Mr. Damian Dodo, SAN, Mrs. Ifweko Omoigwe Okaro, and Mr. Olivier Claret de Langavon. These people are unavoidably absent, but you can see them on the screen. I then proceed to propose that the shareholders' representatives and the board representatives be appointed to serve as members of the Statutory Audit Committee of the company until the next AGM meeting in 2021 in one resolution. Will a shareholder please come forward and support this motion? Please, Matthew.
I, Matthew Akinlade, I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akinlade. Now, can we proceed with the voting? Sorry, the voting by show of hands. Show of hands, show of hands. Those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? None. I hereby declare that motion carried. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the close of this meeting. Thank you for your cooperation, and I'm happy that we've successfully held our first virtual AGM. Can we please take a closing prayer? I'll call on Nona Awo to give us a closing prayer, and after that, we take the national anthem. Thank you.
Let us pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, Lord, we want to again thank you for the opportunity that you have provided us, first to be alive, and in being alive, having an opportunity to attend this meeting. Father, we thank you for the conclusion of this meeting, and we ask that as we go our various homes, that you continue to remain with us, bless our families, bless the work of our hands, and as a company, we also put the company into your care, that you continue to give the directors, the management and staff all the wherewithal to be able to move the future and the fortune of the company to a greater height. And at the end of our lives, Father, we also ask that you grant us eternal rest, as we also put in your care all who have died in this period of the pandemic, that you grant them eternal rest as well. This and many more we ask through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.